One of the things you move on from past trauma is you stop thinking about this trauma. But when we don't think about the trauma, it's like we kind of put it underneath the rug. We just don't think about it, but it's still there affecting us, right? So first thing to do is at some point you're gonna have to face the trauma. But when you're facing a trauma, the idea with trauma is people think they need to forget about it. But when you forget about it, what happens is like this. Let's say you have this trauma, right? This fist is a trauma. So when you try to forget about it, what you do is you put it under the rug. So now the rug's like this, and it kind of has this big bump. And so what happens is there's emotion attached to this trauma. There's some type of emotion, there's anger, there's fear, there's some type of emotion that's trapped with it, that's attached to it. So whenever we think about it, we think about that emotion, right? So then naturally we think, okay, well, I'm just gonna not think about it, so this way I don't have to feel that emotion. But what happens is, even if we don't think about it, that emotion is still with us. That emotion hasn't let go yet because we haven't actually let go of the trauma. So here's what I mean. That trauma is still staying under the rug. And that under rug is in our subconscious mind, AKA in our body. Okay, it's trapped inside of our body. If it's not trapped inside of our body, that means we wouldn't have experienced a trauma. Because traumas are basically when we have an experience in our life and we have an elevated feeling in our body. Our emotions jumped up, our emotions spiked up, and then we paid attention to what's happening. We go, whoa. So if it's a really great event, we don't call it a trauma, we call it a awesome event. We call it a badass experience. Whoa, that was such an experience. But what determined that being such a great experience? Your emotions. Because you're experiencing things every single day, but nothing special about them. But when you have an elevated emotion, suddenly you go, whoa, this experience is awesome. And now this experience gets imprinted in. And if it's a great experience, you may call it an experience. If it's a bad experience, you call it a trauma. So elevated emotion is what happens. That's how it gets stored. So if we want to release it, we got to release that emotion. We got to release that energy, because emotion is just energy in motion. And so when we don't release it, what happens is it gets trapped in our body. It gets trapped in different areas. Sometimes it gets trapped in our organs. Sometimes it gets trapped in different parts of the body. Like we hold a lot of trauma sometimes in our upper back. So we feel like we're always carrying. There's a lot of tension there. Lower back, hips, stomach, all kinds of different places. It can be like certain scars. We have traumas there because that energy, we felt a lot of pain in that area and we never released the pain. And now that's a scar, but it's not just a physical scar. It's a pain that's in this area that is now in form of energy. So it just feels a little uncomfortable, but it may not be very loud because you're already used to it. You don't know that it's there until it's gone. Suddenly you feel incredible and you realize that it was there. That's what happens a lot of times. So we got to go ahead and disassociate the emotion, that energy, to the event. So here's something that you can do. Okay. So this is a big subject in its own, but I'm gonna give you a really quick way, a quick, simple explanation of how that works. When you think about this event and you tell it to somebody, when you tell it to somebody, you may cry, you may get upset, you feel that emotion stir up right away, right? Anytime when you guys are gonna talk about your traumas, talk about your bad experiences, you feel it. So what you can do is you can go ahead and talk about it, and you feel it. And then afterwards, you do a breathing exercise. Breathe, clear it, and get your energy to feel better. And then you talk about it again. And you can go ahead and repeat the exact same thing that you just did. Just repeat it. Don't try to make it any different. Just repeat it the best you can. What will happen is if you repeat that same thing, for example, hey, when I was 7 years old growing up, this thing happened, this person walked in the room, I said this, all this stuff. You repeat the same thing. What will happen is that you will add in just a little bit extra detail without even trying. Because your eyes is closed and you're envisioning this. When you're envisioning this, and you add in a little extra detail, and then you'll feel it again. And then afterwards, you say all the way to the very end, and then go ahead and clear the energy again, because the energy just got built up again. Ooh, I just got upset. Okay, breathe, release it. You do like 20 breaths, nice and deep. 20 breaths, okay, now it's gone. You feel a little better, you do it again. You say the same thing again from the beginning all the way to the end. Now you bring in that little extra element again, not because you wanted to, but because you're visualizing, and the visions are becoming clearer. When it becomes clear, as you're doing this process, every single time you do this, what you're doing is you are getting yourself to relive this event. But you are reliving this event as you right now, not you in the past. So you in the past experienced it. Whoa, it's so crazy. But now you, right now, you know more, you're smarter, you're more intelligent, you have more experience. And when you are reliving it now and you are seeing all these things happening, every time when you talk about it and you experience it, it's less scary. The first time it was scary and you feel it. But every time you do it and you feel the energy, you release it and then you feel it again and then you release it and you keep doing it over and over and over and over again. And so eventually your eyes are closed, you're going through this process. Oh yeah, when I was 7 years old, da 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 da. You said the whole thing in very clear detail, like you're there describing it. The wall is this color. There's a chair over here. That person was wearing blue jeans and a red shirt. But you don't feel afraid. You don't feel any emotions about it now. It's just something that happened. But there is no emotional charge around it. That's how you really overcome traumas. But what it does is it requires you to face it like that. And every time when you face it, it's like scary in the beginning, but you can clear it, clear it, clear it, clear it, clear it. So you can do that like 15 times, 20 times, however many times it takes. If you do it with a partner, somebody can go ahead and be there to go ahead and ask you questions. So this way you can go ahead and talk about it. So let's say me and you are right here. If we're in a coaching call, we will do that. I ask you, okay, tell me what happened. You tell me, and I go, okay, breathe, clear, clear. Tell me what happened again. And we'll do this as many times as we need it. Boom, boom, boom. 20 times later, tell me what happened again. You just tell me and you're nonchalant about it. It's gone. Okay. That's how you really clear traumas. You don't forget about it at this point when you don't have that emotional tie to it anymore. So now it's like, okay, cool. So you feel good about it? Yeah. You accept it? Yeah, I accept it. Okay, cool. It's just the event that happened, just like all the events in our life. All right. You learned a lot from it. Oh yeah, learned a lot. Okay, cool. All right. So now you don't have to think about it anymore, but you didn't forget. There's just no emotions attached to it anymore. So now that doesn't affect you. You see, that emotion that was attached to it that you didn't think about is also affecting your current life right now. That's why you want to remove it. Because when you remove it now, you don't have the emotion attached to you. So you're able to go and do things now more freely. And suddenly you're going to feel lighter in your body. You'll literally physically feel lighter in your body. You feel like weight has been removed because it has. When we carry these emotional traumas, when we carry this emotion in our body actually becomes denser. It literally becomes heavier, not on the scale, but energetically becomes heavier. Energy has density. And so when molecules are more closer together, the energy frequency is really low, our body will physically feel heavier for us. We stand on the scale, it'll feel exactly the same. But in our body, we feel heavy or we can feel light. This is why your density of your body changes with your emotions. You experienced this before, right? When you're angry, your body feels different, feels more heavy. Right? It feels more dense. And when you're happy, it feels more lighter. But if you were to go and stand on the scale and that happens, you'll see that the scale doesn't change. It's exactly the same. So when you release it, you'll feel light, you'll feel free, and your mind will also be free as well. Your mind will suddenly be more expanded. You'll have more clarity. Suddenly you realize like you were thinking like this before, and now these borders are gone. And you're like, whoa, wow. And you're suddenly looking around like you're seeing for the first time.